You are listening to the Spiritual Warrior Coach with Barbara Savin, the podcast for discovering how powerful your wisdom, compassion, and courage is. Get ready to join Barbara and her guests as they explore and offer you advice on how to reclaim your power, your energy, and your authentic self. And now, here's the host of the show, Barbara Savin.
Thank you for joining me today and welcome. I am Barbara Savin, your spiritual warrior coach, and I am here to help you reclaim your power, your energy, and your authentic self. And I am a certified clinical medical hypnotherapist. I am a Reiki master and teacher, energy healing specialist, life coach, and best-selling author of Gentle Energy Touch, The Beginner's Guide to Hands-on Healing. You know, I have been helping my clients for over 35 years, and the older I get, the more wisdom seems to come through. So isn't it time that you believe in yourself? You know, your mind is going to provide you with your greatest challenges in life because it's so very, very powerful. So let's use it for positive thinking, creating harmony, balance, peace, love, happiness, and anything else that your heart desires. Because one day the world will tap you on your shoulder and say, this is your time to shine. And speaking about shining, I want to bring on my next guest. Her name is Nicole Odom-Hardnett, and she was born in Fort Lee, Virginia. She was born to military parents, and she traveled a lot, living in Virginia, Louisiana, Utah, Germany, and Maryland. And then in 2010, she founded Focus Point Solutions, LLC. Initially, it was founded as a traditional housing program, but later it became a chain of assisted living facilities and then eventually outpatient substance abuse treatment programs and mental health centers. And currently, she has 4 locations in Maryland and still has plans for expansion in other states. And Nicole is also a published author of 3 books, Blended to Perfection and Dating Made Simple for Women, and Nick's Jr.'s Hat Adventures. And she is currently working on 3 more books. And she is married to Thomas Hardnett Jr. And together they have 7 very different and dynamic adult children, plus 1 grandson. And her first book, entitled Blended to Perfection, is partially based on obstacles in her life, along with the challenges of bringing the families together in the same house while dealing with inside and outside forces that were determined to see the union fail. And after a rough start and hard work, her family is now blended to perfection. So welcome, Nicole.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Wow, you make me sound so wonderful.
Oh, you are wonderful.
I'm like, wow, who is that? Oh my goodness.
That's you. You're a shining star. Wow. So how did all this start for you, you know, with your businesses, first of all?
So, you know, I think I've always had the entrepreneurial spirit inside of me. Where it came from, I have no idea, because both of my parents have, they worked for the government, either directly for the government. My father was in the Army and he retired, and my mother was a civilian. She worked for the government. So neither one of them were entrepreneurs. So I think the closest that I was to an entrepreneur was my great uncle, who, was like the loan shark of the community and sold loose cigarettes and in the community. That was like the closest that I can recall of someone being an entrepreneur in the family. So, I've had multiple businesses, both, on paper and off paper. But this venture in my life, I never dreamed of even being here. So I think Focus Point, I guess, started right at or during grad school with the transitional housing that came about in grad school. And actually, it was I had another name prior to Focus Point. It was called Never Alone, something transitional housing, something to that effect. And then it went into the Focus Point brand. And then from there, it went into assisted livings. And then from there, it went into the behavioral health, which is the substance abuse and mental health. So I just grew and grew and grew. And it was just all from, one day, I'm like, okay, I think I should do this next. And let's do this next. But it was writing down my goals and some dreams, and just taking it day by day and step by step, and trying to figure out, okay, what applications do I need to fill out, or who do I need to speak to get to the next level, and just not stopping. That's what it took.
Wow. So you stayed focused and true to yourself.
I stayed as focused as I possibly could.
Yeah.
There were some bumps along the way.
Yeah.
There were some detours and some blurred vision, but I tried to stay as focused as possible.
And that's so important, because when we have a goal in our head, the thing is to really to do it the best that we can. And of course we're going to have, those ups and downs, but see what works and see what doesn't work, and then just make it better.
It definitely wasn't easy. There were some blocks and some times where I thought that, okay, this application is never going to come through, or I'm never going to be able to come up with the money for this, or I don't know how people do it without the funding, or whatever. But none of my ventures were funded by any funding stream. I did it all, myself, or with the help of my husband. So, it was just keep chugging along, and here I am.
That's amazing. So you're opening more facilities, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's definitely the goal. Actually, I'm in the process right now of moving one location to another area, to a bigger office, because we've grown in actual programs in one of the locations, in one of the areas. So we needed to expand, which is a great thing.
Oh, sure. Now you help people with substance abuse, and so, you're talking about alcohol and everything else.
Yes. Alcohol, drugs, any type of addiction.
And what made you get into that?
It was a combination of family, friends, and some of my past work environment. Mm-hmm. So it was like it wasn't something I sought out to do. I just kind of fell into this. I had some close people that had succumbed to the disease of addiction, and that was a wake-up call for me. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, with some of the jobs that I held, I was responsible for placing individuals in positions, and I was basically stopped with the placement of those individuals because they had to take a urinalysis, and they couldn't pass the urinalysis. And I would get that phone call, and it was like, okay, we can't take your student because they didn't pass. Or the student would come back to me and like, Miss Nicole, I'm so sorry, I can't get this job because, or they would say, they want me to take a urinalysis and I'm not going to pass this test. Mm. And so we would sit down and we would have a talk, and I'm like, okay, well, what's going on? Why aren't you going to pass the test? And I'm like, okay, I'm like, duh. Like, okay, that's a dumb question to ask. Not thinking, okay, people have real life challenges, and this is a disease, and this is before the whole family situation, and it hit home for me, that I was dealing with this with people that weren't related to me. And so I dealt with those outside individuals, and I helped them, seek treatment or get to the next step or phase in their life, or had those intimate conversations with them about their addiction. But then when it got real personal for me, I looked at it totally different, and I started reading more, and I started doing the research and really learned that this is a disease just like anything else, like diabetes, like cancer, or any of those other diseases. And it really made sense to me. And all the other careers that I've been in, I have been helping people. And it just made sense when it came time for me to, once I got out of the roles or was looking into new licenses from the transitional housing, from the assisted livings, and the next step was, since my assisted living wasn't for the elderly population, it was for those who were dually diagnosed. The next step was for me to secure a license for substance abuse, because I was familiar and I just felt empowered, and I felt like I needed to be entrenched in this community.
Well, I give you a lot of credit for that. It's a very challenging job.
It is. And, I don't win all the battles with my clients all the time. But it's very rewarding, whether I'm sitting with them or not, when my staff has a wonderful story about someone who has graduated or is discharged from our program successfully.
So do you feel after this, successfully discharged, do they continue on being clean?
A lot of them do. Some of them, they relapse sometimes. But hey, if they come back to us or they seek another program, then we have instilled something in them to make them get up and, get on that bike again and start all over.
Yeah, because that's, I know I've had people very close to me die from overdose.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so tragic when you know that, as you mentioned, it is an illness.
It is.
And they have to seek help to overcome all this. It's just like being addicted to sugar, but
right.
It's in a different sense. And it's actually escaping reality, because then when they're off their high, they come back and nothing's changed.
Right.
Actually, it's gotten worse.
Right.
So, I know for myself as a healer and hypnotherapist, a lot of it has to do, not just with their urges, but, with the mind.
Mm-hmm.
They have to want to do it, not that somebody else wants them to do it and get clean.
Exactly. So, we empower people with information. So even if they come to us for an intake and we don't secure them the first time that they come in and they decide not to stay with us and they leave. Hopefully we've given them enough information on that first encounter that they're thinking about what we've said to them, that they eventually, most of the clients, they eventually come back. Maybe that second time they're ready.
They're ready.
And maybe not. Maybe it's the third time. sometimes it takes them a while before they're ready, but it's up to them. They have to be ready. And that's what we have explained to their family, that they have to be ready. You can't be ready for them to do it. All the family, and we know that you're ready for them to, to quit and everything, but it's just not that simple, unfortunately.
No, it's not. And it's like anything else, once they really feel in their heart and soul that they're done and that they have to get better, that's when they, seek people like yourself to help them. I'm sorry about the outside noise here. I have a gardener all of a sudden. Of all times.
Right.
No way. But yeah, they have to really be done, and really want to help themselves heal.
Right.
Because that's what it's all about. It's about healing and finally giving themselves, I would assume, their permission and respecting their body and wanting to live a long, healthy life without this substance abuse.
Exactly.
So now, do the people that come to you, do they stay in your housings or?
No, so I don't have a housing program anymore. I'm strictly outpatient.
Okay. So they're committed to coming, to you all the time.
Right. We have groups twice a day. We have a morning and evening. And so they don't stay with me. They are free to go home after the group is over. And now, since we have COVID, all the groups are pretty much done online. We do have the capability, of course, to have in-house groups.
Mm-hmm.
But most of our groups now are done online.
Do you feel it's still as effective?
We get quite a bit of participation in groups, and my counselors say that the groups, I've sat in on a couple. I've listened, and the clients are fairly active. They're pretty vocal. I have been in-house on a few of I guess before COVID, when we were in-house, like person to person. They're vocal, but I don't they can see each other in the group.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you do have the capability of turning off your camera. I don't know if it is better because you're not side by side with someone, for you to be more interactive in the group. Maybe that's why the groups are so vocal. I mean, they have some powerful conversation in that group, which is great. So, and we have a lot of participation in our groups. So I am not hoping, I'm hoping that this whole telehealth doesn't go away anytime soon, because the participation is awesome.
Right. Well, that's good then. Yeah, because then if they're not able to physically come to you, at least they could, hop on the Zoom and have conversation.
And they can do the meeting from anywhere, because we're in three of my locations are in very rural areas. So it makes it much more convenient for them to just hop on, just like tune in, and you have a meeting, and you get the information that you need, and it's very informative information for you. It's like feeding your soul. So hopefully you won't go out there and use. And I know as an organization, our rate of participation has been very good.
Oh, well, that's good. That's very good. And it's nice to know, that someone like yourself is truly looking to help others, and get off all this addiction. And it's heartbreaking.
It is,
because I see it, and I've been through it, with loved ones. So, and you say to yourself, wow, why why didn't they just reach out to someone like yourself, for help? Or, they just decided to give up,
Right.
unfortunately.
Right.
But so I commend you for all this incredible work that you're doing.
Thank you.
I mean, it's, as I mentioned before, it's not easy.
No, it's not. Just from hearing the stories of the people who come in, that alone is, something to deal with, something to think about on a daily basis.
So besides what you're doing with that, I know you're an author. You've written 3 books already, right? And you have a few more down the road there.
Yeah, actually, I have another one that will be coming out on November the 6th. It's Moms Who Boss Up Post-Pandemic. So that one will be out very soon. That'll be out next month.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is that about?
So that book has there are 16 women in the book, and each of us are very different and dynamic moms who have basically, bossed up. We all have our own story to tell in our chapters of the book, and we tell our stories the way we want to tell it, about our lives or our situations, or what we have gone through. So it's an interesting read. So you're not reading about just one person. You're not hearing one person's voice throughout, a whole book. You're reading about 16 different personalities. And so it's just it's a great read, and it's from the Boss Up brand, which have been bestsellers for the last, I don't know how many years. And I am, definitely thrilled to be a part of the brand.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I can't wait till it comes out.
It comes out. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I know, I went on your website, and
Mm-hmm.
besides what you do with all the abuse and help people there, you also, because we've been through it in my family, difficulties in dealing with blended families.
Mm-hmm.
And I, reading yours, I know, you married, and
Yes.
then here came other children with your children.
Right.
I know, because we've been through it. Not me, but my kids have been through this. And, my daughter, for instance, had 2 of her own, then divorced, remarried, and there was 4 more. So, and now all of a sudden it's either part-time or full-time. And it was challenging because, not just from the children, but the ex-wife or ex-husband or the mother-in-law or the mother. It was like, whoa, how can you possibly get through all this, and finally live somewhat of a normal life.
Right,
And so it's still, and I know you've been through all this.
Yes. So my husband and I, we have been together for almost 12 years. We've been married. It'll be 9 years in February. I have 2 biological children. They're boys, and he has 5, 3 girls and 2 boys.
Mm.
And we have 1 grandson. Yes. Yeah. So we have a full house.
Yes.
And our holidays are definitely packed. And, I couldn't, at this point, I couldn't ask for anything more. I love my family, but it wasn't always like this. I would say, probably about a year in, maybe, I don't even know if it was a year yet in, I was like, okay, who are these people? Why am I here? I want to leave this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I do this?
Yes, it's challenging. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It is the children coming together was easy peasy. It was a piece of cake. They got along absolutely fine. So that was not a worry.
Mhm.
The problem came in with the oldest daughter and the mother situation.
Mm.
It was a thing where the mother was telling her daughter things about me, and she had absolutely no idea about me, had never had a conversation about me or with me. So it was a bit of, I don't know, maybe jealousy, bitterness,
Something.
or whatever towards a person that she knew nothing about.
Mm-hmm.
And she was spewing all this negativity to her daughter. And of course, her daughter is going to choose her mother's side and believe the mother's information, which she should, because that's her mom.
Right.
But also in that, and her spewing that, her mother was, I guess, in probably a sad place. And so the daughter also was choosing the mom over her father, which put some strain on their relationship. I had never been in a situation like this before. I don't have any sisters. I have brothers. So this was my first experience with girls and the whole cattiness and all the talking and all of that. I never lived with my dad, so this was my first experience with the whole term daddy's girls.
Mm-hmm.
But it helped, being with my husband helped me to understand it and actually see it in real life. And I was in awe of their relationship. But for me, it took a toll on me mentally, because I'm like, this young lady doesn't speak to me, doesn't care for me, and there's nothing that I can do or say to make her feel any differently. And I didn't do anything to her. I could see if I had done something to her, or said something to her, or even did something or said something to her mom, but I had done neither one. And there was nothing I could do to fix this. So it put me in a bad headspace. So that took a while for me to get out of that funk. So I had to find other things, some meditation, a lot of crying, some therapy, anything that I could to try to make me, feel a little better. And I had to realize that, I couldn't expect my husband to choose me over his daughter. That would be very selfish of me. I'm a parent. I had to understand what was going on. I had to really, in my meditation, and just backing out of it. And once I could think clearly, I had to think that, okay, this is a situation where this lady doesn't know me. She's upset about everything, her whole life and all of this. And now she's just giving it to someone who's innocent in this, which no one should ever do this.
No.
Give this information to their children about the other parent. And I couldn't expect him to choose between or even really understand how I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to do what I needed to do for myself, which is just, self-medicate by shopping and whatever else I needed to do for myself, and just, pray that this whole situation would clear up. And finally it did. And it relieved itself on its own. We had a conversation. I had a conversation with her. I guess it was probably like maybe a year into it, or 8 months or so. That eased things a little bit. She had questions for me. I answered her questions. Most of the questions she had, her dad had already answered. I was just a little more, I just went a little deeper with things.
She can.
And I guess she appreciated my honesty. So that kind of smoothed things a little bit. But then what really opened things up is when she got her boyfriend, and her mom and her grandmom started treating him like she was treating me. And that's what really did it. Then she was able to see how it made me feel, because he felt the same way that I was feeling. And then she felt his pain.
Wow. It's good for her. Wow. So she really understood. And the fact that you sat down and spoke to her, that's big. So she can understand you better.
Right. Because when we moved in together, the whole family as a unit, she had moved out the very next day because she was off to college. So she never got a chance to experience me, see how I live daily, to see how I communicate and interact with everyone else. So everyone else was getting along with me just fine.
Yeah.
And everyone else was like, hey, she's kind of cool, even though she's all right. And, but,
it takes a while to get to that point, believe me.
Right. Because they're interacting with me, and she had never done that other than prior to us moving in. We went to I was at their housewarming when her dad moved out, and those type of functions, but that only lasts for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people around. It's not personal.
Yeah. So now, how in advance did you decide to, while you were dating, I would assume then once you knew he was the right one for you, when did you decide to, get them sort of together, the kids, or introduce each other to each other?
Well, once we decided to move out, both of us were in relationship. His relationship was on paper, meaning he was married, and my relationship was not. So we moved out on our own and for a year. And once we got into our own places, the children were introduced to each other.
Oh, so you waited.
He met my oldest son, though, by accident before I moved out. He came into my apartment and used the restroom, and my oldest son came home. But my relationship that I was in, it wasn't even a relationship. It was done. I was mentally checked out, and he was the same. He was mentally checked out of his relationship years before I came along. So we were at the same place. So we were a breath of fresh air for each other. And we had great conversation. We talked about any and everything possible, not just being in a relationship, because that wasn't my intention or really his in the beginning. We were just friends.
Just friends.
Yeah. And we talked about any and everything.
Yeah. I know when my daughter finally introduced me to them, that was because all of a sudden, from having 4 grandchildren, now I had 8. So, But at the beginning, it was tough. They, wouldn't really look at me. They were just ignoring me. And
Mhm.
I said, well, wow, how can I show them that even though, yeah, I'm not their biological grandma, but
Mhm.
I can love them the same way.
Right.
And it actually took, I think, about 2 years for them to start feeling better, and saying, okay. And now they call me grandma and they hug me, they kiss me. And I say, wow, thank you, God. Cause
Right.
it was tough going at the beginning. And then you
Yeah.
just don't know if it's going to be okay, but you keep on trying.
Right.
That's
Right.
that's the thing. And, yeah, so I know, like, for myself, me being put in that, because my daughter lives, not far from us, uh, was very challenging.
Yeah. Being in a blended family, you don't know what to expect. I had no idea
Mhm.
of what to expect. I never expected this situation with my oldest daughter at all. I've never had anyone that was like I guess in my nest or in my family. Um, I've never had that situation before. So
Mhm.
I just didn't know how to react to it. I never had any friends with that situation. So again, I just didn't know what to expect. Now, I've had people with that whole, drama with the ex and all that stuff, and that bicker between the ex and the kids, and they want to talk about each other. I am not an advocate for that.
Yeah.
That is something I do not like
Mhm.
at all. Now I can, talk about it. My kids are older. I have an ex-husband, and my youngest um he'll be 20 in December. I, you know, my ex-husband was a deadbeat dad.
Mm. We have
But
one of those too, so. Uh-huh.
I let my son figure that out for himself.
Mhm.
I figured, he'll figure it out. I don't need to tell him. I don't need to tell you your dad isn't, paying this or paying that, and I'm doing everything. I don't need to say that to a kid.
They find out, they
They
see.
don't, they don't see. I mean, kids are very observant.
Mhm.
They pick up on things. Why should you, as a parent, tell your child that their mom or their dad is not paying tuition, or not not doing whatever they're not doing that that they should be doing?
Mhm.
Why should you do that to them?
Mhm.
It's just, you're putting your kids in adult situations, and I don't believe in putting kids in adult situations.
Mhm.
If you're an adult, you handle your business and leave
Right.
your kid out of it.
I agree 500%. Because my daughter decided the same thing, does the same exact thing. She said, she would always say, they'll figure it out. They'll see
That's
the
right.
truth one day, and it'll be up to them to decide what they want to do.
Right. Let that kid love their parent, whether they're a
Mhm.
deadbeat or not, and you just bite your tongue. Tell your friends.
Mhm. They're not
When
the
the
kid.
kid is far away and they're not in an earshot of what you have to say about their parent, let them love them. Let mommy or daddy be their superhero, and let them figure it out later on. I'm sure that if they are who you say that they are, they'll let them down enough. And you just have to pick them up and brush their back and kiss them on their forehead and be there for them.
Exactly, because that's what I see with my two, grandkids. Same exact thing. They understood later on. Gee, wow, he didn't do this, he didn't do that. But, it's their father. And I always tell them they should love him. And no matter what, don't judge him, accept him for who he is.
That's right.
It's all that he knows. It's what he grew up with. So he's probably doing the same thing to you
Yep.
that he had, because he was also he was from a broken family. And just, the biggest lesson I can, as I mentioned, is not to judge, and acceptance, and forgive him. Because if you're holding on to that anger and stuff towards him, what is that doing for you? Nothing,
Right.
except getting you more angry and frustrated, and that energy is so unhealthy. So it's
Exactly.
important to forgive him, because again, that's all that he knows. That's how he's been raised. That doesn't mean that you have to be the same way.
That's right.
And it's so important.
That's so true.
And I look, and they understand. I mean, one is she's going to be 19, the other he's 17. And they understand. And my daughter has never ever spoke harsh about him.
That's great. I love to hear that, because there's so many people
Yeah, I know.
that I hear that talk about the other parent in front of the child.
Right. It's, this is how, this was your challenge between each other. Don't make it the kids, because
Right.
it's not fair to separate them and to say, well, you need to love me more than him because I'm your mom, or she's nothing to you. You want it to be a peaceful, joyful, loving, togetherness.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that sometimes it's not,
Right.
because of the other, mom or grandma or whomever, gets involved.
Exactly. Exactly.
And it would be so much better if we all just hugged and kissed and say, how are you? That's how I feel, but not everybody does the same. But yeah. And I guess sometimes either someone maybe, do you feel that sometimes there should be couple therapy?
Oh, definitely. My husband and I, we went early on in our relationship. I wanted to do it before we got married, but we went, I think it was maybe a month after we got married, to couples therapy.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And do you feel it helped? It helped you?
Oh, I think I know it helped a lot, because I know that, I had a lot of baggage that I was dealing with, and so did he. And it helped us to dig deeper, and for each one of us to really get to know each other, and why we act the way that we do.
We do. Now, did his wife or your husband, did they go for therapy, or?
I don't think that they did.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that they did. I know my ex-husband and I, we did not. We went before we got married, just like that one time, that premarital counseling with the pastor, and that was it.
Oh, and then there was nothing thereafter.
There was nothing thereafter. But my husband and I, we went, we had several sessions. It was like for months, because we were really both gung-ho about this relationship working, because this is both of our second marriages. And we was like, we don't want a third.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. I know, because then you got to go through it all over again.
Right. It was like, we don't want to do this again. So we really need to make it work. And our we struggle sometimes with the communication, but most of the time it is on point. And typically it's me, but I have grown a lot with my communication, and with me, sometimes it's the shutdown before I can get things out. And it's because I want to make sure that I'm saying things in the right way, to make sure that I'm not hurting feelings or it's just not, it's just coming out the right way.
I know. I tell people all the time, be mindful of what comes out of your mouth, because once it does, you can't take it back.
That's right. You're right. Because I know years ago, before my first ever therapy sessions, people used to say that, my words would cut like a knife, because, I wouldn't think, I would just blurt it out and it'd just be out in the atmosphere. And, I wouldn't care who it hurt. Yeah, I wouldn't care who it hurt.
Somebody walked in.
Right, somebody walked in.
Okay. But yeah, because with all the apologies thereafter, they still remember those words.
Right.
That's the thing, and it could be extremely, well, besides being hurtful, it's like a little seed put into their head, and then it starts to sprout, I feel, and they can't get over that, and then they hold it against us. Okay, I know we had a little challenge here with the computer freezing, but
right.
We're all good. We're back. So, I know we were talking about you going, to therapy, and that
Right.
and then talking about, once crazy making words come out of our mouth, we can't take it back, and it's
right.
important to think before we speak. And I think for the most part, most of us do. I know sometimes I say crazy stuff, but
Same here.
I know it's being human. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, but yeah, but it's important to I always say, if someone pushes our buttons a little bit, just to step back, because whatever your action to that, it's going to cause a reaction,
Right.
and with divorced, stepmom and stepdad and all that, we have to really try not to have that outburst of, negativity, I want to say.
Right. I try not to react to, I would say, everything, or at least most things that have happened or that happened to me, especially the negative things that happen.
Yeah, which is it's hard, but yeah,
it's definitely definitely hard.
But
because I always typically want to say something. And if I say usually the first thing that I'm thinking, that's the thing that's on the top of my head, is probably going to get me into some trouble.
Yeah.
So, I have to sit back and think about it. And I'm like, is it really worth me saying something? Or, but then there's the moments where, I'm like, I have to respond to this. I really just can't let this go.
Oh yeah, I always say choose your battles.
Right.
Figure if it's really worth,
right.
the real effort, in arguing or getting your point across. And sometimes it's like, oh, just forget it.
Right.
We're done. We're good. But so do you think in all of this, you actually found yourself and you've gotten to know, Nicole better?
I started or set out on my personal journey of finding myself somewhere in and around the age of 30, because I had a lot of failed relationships. So this was before I met my husband. I just needed to know who am I? Who is Nicole? What does she want? What type of mate does she want? What is best for her kids? I had 2 kids, 2 boys, especially. Who is going to help me raise these boys into men and make them productive members of society? But who is going to help nurture and help me grow as a person? So I just took some time. So that meant dating me, that meant therapy. That just meant not dating anyone else and getting to know who I was, what I like, and taking in all the information and also all the things, both good and bad, that people, either friends or people that I dated, that they have said about me. And just taking that all in and seeing how I can make myself better.
Which is, instead of you just allowing that to just continue,
Right.
you really, went deep inside of yourself and said, what is it that I need to change?
Right. And I knew that the really the one thing, or the number one thing, that was a recurring theme, was my anger. It was in my mouth.
Well, that usually goes hand in hand.
Right. The way I respond, it was, if someone asked me something, or if you said something to me, I was quick with it. I was going to give you whatever was on top of my head, whether it was good or bad. And I thought that I was just being a real person. I was going to give it to you raw and uncut. But in that, I was hurting people's feelings. I was cutting them down. And it wasn't a good way for me to be. So I had to change that. So now I stop and think, and is it really worth me saying that? What am I getting out of that? I don't need to tear people down. And I wasn't doing it on purpose to be nasty. I just thought, okay, you asked me a question, I'm going to give it to you. I'm not going to, if you ask me, how does this look? I'm going to tell you, well, it makes you fat. It makes your stomach stick out a little more. Well, I could have left that part out. I just said it makes you look fat. So I was just too much. I was just too over the top with it. And, I just didn't need to be that way.
And I know that feeling.
I had to realize that I was one of those people. But the good was that I was a good person, which the world needs good people. So that was a great thing. But they just kept saying, oh, that temper.
Yeah, that temper. I know. I was born and raised in Brooklyn in the projects, and boy, you had to be tough, or else you just didn't survive.
I had two older brothers. I had to be tough. I played football with them and their friends. I'm a tomboy, so that was just the way it was.
And I had to make sure my younger sister, who was 4.5 years younger than I always defended her, and anyone said anything, boy, I was there to beat them up. As you could say.
Right.
Yeah. And then I realized, gee, you don't have to go Brooklyn on people. It's okay to change. And I started changing the same age, around my 30s.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I just needed to transform and be a lot softer and not come off so edgy. And I think that helped me. Well, I know that helped me survive and stay in this relationship, because we wouldn't be here today, because I was like, okay, I don't like what you said, I'm gone.
Yeah. Well,
I was that girl. Yeah. Okay, next. Right.
I was the same way, but then when I found that, the love of my life, we're married 52 years. And,
wow.
And the key
congratulations.
Thank you. I keep on telling myself, I don't know, but the key is communication and being kind.
It is.
And respect.
It really is.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Right, it really is. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm talking to you about this stuff. Like, I say this to him, I'm like, I can't believe you still like me.
Yeah, right. I know sometimes he looks at me and he says, "You're mean." And I say, "I mean? Gee, I thought I changed." You know? But it's my husband, so, and I know for 56 years, so it's okay.
Right.
You know, it just is what it is. But yeah, it's about respecting each other
Mhm.
and knowing, our words can really do damage to their feelings.
Right. And my goal has been in this relationship to respect him and not hurt his feelings or him in any kind of way. And that's what I strive to do. So I make sure if we have any type of disagreement that I pause to make sure that that old me never ever surfaces in any of our discussions.
Yeah, I feel the same way with our relationship and with my friends and the family. I really watch what comes out of my mouth
Yeah.
because it's out into the universe. I can't take it back. And
Right.
I really don't want to hurt anybody. But, I'll be very truthful, but it's how we say it.
Right. For so a few people from time to time, they still get it. They
Well,
get it. But
I know. Yep, but it is what it is.
but I strive to be the better me
Mhm.
every day, and it does take a little more. I would say almost. I can't say a lot. I would say a little more for people to bring it out of me
Mhm.
now. Then I'll actually stop and think about it now before that old stuff comes out. And the times where it has, I remember recently someone took me to that point and I let someone really have it. And I reflected on it and I'm like, oh man, I was so angry that the person even took me to that. And I'm like, I was doing so well. And why did they have to do that to me to allow me
Yes.
to act in that?
Yeah. Yeah, I know that. And it's just dealing with those difficult people that know how to push buttons.
Right.
But if you don't have a reaction to what they want to do to you, then where can they go with it? They nowhere unless they continuous, do it. But yeah.
Right. That was this situation. I was trying to be so calm. And I was trying to be nice and everything. And they just kept on. And I just was like, it just tipped over.
Sometimes it does. Yeah. I know. It's happened to me. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, I become more mindful of my words and more mindful of what they're trying to do to me to make to see that anger come out or that reaction. And then I say, I ain't going there.
Yeah. And especially now I have my grandson. So I am really, really mindful of what I say and what I do because he sees everything.
Yes. How old is he?
He's 2.
Oh God, they'll repeat everything and anything.
Oh my goodness. I went to the airport and it's the airport here that I just hate because I get so turned around all the time. And it was just him and I. And we were flying together and I was like, I miss the parking where we were supposed to go to park. And I forgot he was in the back seat. And I have been doing so well on not using any profanity. And I said one word and I was like, oh my God, he's in the car. And when you know it, he stored the word in his memory bank for 2 weeks.
Oh, gee.
2 whole weeks.
Uh-huh.
And he used it at preschool.
Oh, no. That's what they do to us.
So when I put him in the car, I picked him up and put him in the car. They said, well, he used the word today. And I said, oh my gosh, really? And he was already out of sight. And when she told me, I said, oh my goodness. I said, I have not said anything around him. No one has used the word around him. She told me, and he used it right on in the perfect
perfect timing. Right?
perfect timing and everything.
Uh-huh.
And I told her, I said, that was me. He got that from me. So I fessed up. I said, I have not said any profanity around him. I don't let him listen to any of that stuff on the radio. He has his own CDs in the car. And he stored that for, I said it 2 weeks ago at the airport. I was like, oh my goodness.
That's all it takes. That's all it takes. With them, I used to say, you mean truck, right? And no, Grandma, I don't mean truck. I said, oh no, my daughter's gonna kill me.
Right. Right. So I'm extra careful of what I do and what I say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have to be.
Right.
Right now, though, the one's a Marine, and I have a 3 and a 5-year-old, but they live in Florida. And so the ones here, one's a Marine, and we have 2 in college, and the other ones are in high school. And boy, sometimes I look at them and I say, what did you say? You know, and they say, oh, Grandma, I know you know how to curse, but that's not the point.
Right.
Where are you learning this from?
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, hopefully they won't use it when they get married and have kids.
Right.
That's what we play. I'm praying.
Oh gosh.
But at least they feel comfortable to say something like that. So, but yeah, it's crazy. But so just briefly, if you have your 3 books, and then one's about blended family, and what are the other 2 about?
So my first book is called Blended to Perfection. And so that one it's about my life and why I am the way that I am, and about my blended family and some of the trials and tribulations. So it has a story about not all the children, but some of the scenarios and what I went through with a couple of the kids. And then it talks about how I got into my business. And so that's Blended to Perfection. The second book is Dating Made Simple for Women. It's a like a guide of that dating myself, that whole that time frame. It's about almost maybe 6 months to a year. And it was just how I did it and what came out of it. It prepared me for my next real relationship. I was in a couple of relationships after that weren't really one that wasn't that successful, but I was able to see that it wasn't going to be successful. The guy, he wanted to marry me, gave me a ring, but I knew when he gave me the ring that I was not going to set a date. And the only reason I accepted the ring is because he kept on asking me. And
he didn't want to hear the word no.
He didn't want to hear the word no. And I'm like, okay, Nicole, if you don't take this ring, you're going to have some problems. And yeah, it was a problematic relationship.
Yeah.
But that relationship definitely prepared me, along with the dating myself, along with reading some books and some self-help CDs and things of that nature, prepared me for my marriage.
For your marriage now.
Yes. And then my next book is Nick Jr.'s Hat Adventures. That I wrote in conjunction with my grandson. He loves hats.
Oh, okay.
It can be anyone's hat, any kind of hat. He does have a favorite hat, which is a red knit hat, but he just loves hats. So that book is about his love for hats.
Oh my, okay.
And then I have the book that is coming out, Moms Who Boss Up Post Pandemic. That'll be out November the the 6th, I'm sorry, November the 9th of this year. And then I'm also working on Leaders with Impact. That'll be out should be done beginning of next year.
Wow, you a busy bee.
Yeah, and in the midst of that, I do have one that I'm finished editing the book. I have a couple of I actually have a couple of tweaks. I've edited it, but I just have a couple of tweaks that I actually need to put in the right format. That will, I haven't decided when I want it to be official, and I haven't decided when it's going to actually come out. And that is the second series to the Dating Made Simple book.
Wow. Congratulations. A lot of work.
So in total, by the time Leaders with Impact comes out, beginning of next year, it'll be 6 books total.
Wow, that's a lot. I'm working on my second one, and that's taking forever. So
the first one took a very, very long time. The second one is very short. That was pretty easy, and the children's book was very short. That one was very, very easy. The second series to the dating book, that has been like a challenge, because I was like, "Ooh, I want to put this in. Ooh, I want to put that in." Writing the chapter was very easy. And the Moms Who Boss Up post-pandemic, because I'm working with another organization.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah.
wow. So you can get your books on Amazon. I would.
Yep.
Wow.
All
so
on Amazon.
This was
Amazon does everything.
Yes, it does. I know, including self-publishing.
Right. Exactly.
Which I'm looking to do eventually once I get the rights of my book back. But wow. So your life is incredible. It's filled with a lot of stuff. You know, and I could see you're so grounded and focused and centered. I mean, that's the
power of prayer.
Yeah, well, I know
and
that.
I definitely have a praying mother.
Yeah, I pray every morning and every night, and in between when I need to. So I'm a firm believer in prayer and gratefulness and gratitude and being a good soul.
Right.
So,
that's right. That's what it takes.
Yeah, this sure does. But well, where can my listeners get a hold of you and your books and everything else that you have to offer?
So all the books are on Amazon. They will soon be on my website. And so I have a couple of different websites. So let's talk about the newest one. So my newest venture actually is called Savvy Sister Society. And Savvy Sister Society is all about women's empowerment. So everything that has to do with women's empowerment. So Savvy Sister Society is on Instagram. And for email, it's hi@Savvy Sister Society. For the website, it's Savvy Sis, SIS Society. And for, let me see, what is it? For the website, is Savvy Sis Society.
Okay. So we're gonna have all that information, you know, at the end of all this. So yeah, give me all your websites, your Facebook, everything that you have.
So that's Savvy Sis Society. So that is all about women's empowerment. And when you go to Instagram for Savvy Sis Society, it is women empowering other women. So you have to be a member. You can chat with other women about, you know, your highs, your lows, your whatever you would like to talk about in that forum as a woman. You know, what do I do with this? I'm about to be awarded for that. You know, what do you suggest here? or I'm going through this there, that type of
So it's that type
situation.
well, good, because
Yes.
women need that.
Yeah, we do. We need to be empowered and lift each other up in each and every way, every day. Now my Talk to Nicole brand, the website is talktonicole.com. The Instagram is Talk to Nicole OH. The Facebook is just Talk to Nicole. And the email is nicole@talktonicole.com.
Ah, wow. Okay. Well, yeah, make sure you send me everything so I can put it on.
Yeah, it's so much to remember.
Yes, there's a lot to
I have
remember.
to think about it. Because it's not very often. I don't send emails to myself very often. No, I'm not big on social media.
Yeah, I am a little bit, but not really. So
Yeah.
it's
So,
challenging. But
yes.
wow,
And so Talk to Nicole is all about the whole blended, it's all about blended families.
Mhm.
It's all about relationship coaching. And it's still about women's empowerment and lifting each other up, but it's more geared toward blended families and healthy relationships. And so it's a little more specific.
Because I think that's where I found you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And it was intriguing because, as I mentioned, we are, and I say we, meaning my daughter and my son, are blended families. And once you get through that hardship and everything else, then you're good to go, hopefully.
Exactly. It's just being able to weather, that storm, and it depends on how severe your storm is. But all I can tell people is hang on, hold on tight, and just be prepared. Put your seatbelt on and just strap in, and for that ride, because you never know, but eventually the ride is going to, come to the end, and hopefully you have a beautiful sunset, at the end. You're standing on the mountain, at the top of the mountain, you're seeing that beautiful sunset. And I would say that's where I am right now with my family. It's beautiful.
Oh, I'm so happy for you, believe me. And
Thank you.
and I'm so honored that you said yes to coming on to my podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's definitely a pleasure. Anytime I get to talk about my family, it's great. It's great, especially from where we were, and to now. It's just awesome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. And just send me all your information. So make sure that it's on YouTube and Spotify and Apple and everywhere else that it needs to be.
You got it. You got it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Thank you. Thank you. I really enjoyed this hour, believe me.
Same here, Barbara. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. So I just want to thank my listeners, for listening today, and a very big thank you to Nicole for being a guest on my show. And I hope that you heard what you needed to hear. So again, thank you for listening, and visit me at motivateyourlife.net. And please visit and subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Spiritual Warrior Coach. And I also have another channel called Barbara Savin. And there I have some grounding meditations and sleep and relaxation and some other things for you to enjoy. And again, thank you so much for listening. And if you're looking to learn energy healing, check out my book on Amazon, Gentle Energy Touch, The Beginner's Guide to Hands-On Healing. I'd love to hear from you. Again, motivateyourlife.net, or just email me at barbaraesavin@aol.com. So again, thank you so much for listening, and have a beautiful week filled with love and with light. Love, Barbara.
My guest today, Nicole Odom-Hardnett. For more information, visit www.talktonicole.com. Visit me, Barbara Savin, at www.motivateyourlife.net. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel, The Spiritual Warrior Coach Podcast. Have a beautiful day filled with love and light, Barbara.